there, my name is Crafty Kathy. Welcome back to my channel. I am so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft with me today. I have for you 15 of my favorite Halloween DIYs and I hope you enjoy them. Now I do want to say before we jump in to hit that little red subscribe button and become a part of our family. We would love to have you. And don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Now, without further ado, let's jump on in. On the first one, I got this cheesecloth off of Amazon, but you can get this at Walmart or anywhere. Now, cheesecloth is almost like gauze. It is a very thin woven cotton, and you can kind of see through it. Now, we need about 6 pieces. I only had about 4 pieces, but mine was a little bit thicker than the norm, so I thought, okay, I'm going to make it work and just use what I have. And I took an old baby doll. This thing came out of an old abandoned house, and it was full of cat hair. Look at its head, y'all. It was so sad. But anyways, we got to take her head off, so I just used an old pair of scissors and off with her head. This is the massacre that was left behind after I cut her little head off. And I'm not really sure what happened to her hair, but here's the rest of her. And I'm going to keep that because who knows, I may need it. The chickens liked it and thought it was really cute. The next step is to pick out the frame that you're going to need. I chose an 8x10 and I actually used this one that has that scrolly outside because it kind of had that old vintagey looking vibe that I like. I felt that this one was just too plain and the round one was just too big. Now the best place to get these types of frames, of course, is going to be at a thrift store. I took the cardboard that was in the back and I painted it white because we need it white. And then you lay down a piece of wax paper and tape that wax paper down to the backing. You do this because you don't want your head sticking to that cardboard when you're finished. Now on the next step, I actually kind of taped my head down to that wax paper and I used a screw underneath it so that it would stay upright. And then you just take Vaseline and you slap it all over and you put a lot. You put it in the eye sockets, the nose, the mouth, and all over the top of that head because you do not want that cheesecloth to stick to it once it dries. Then you start with the cheesecloth. All you do is lay it over. Make sure you have room on the sides once you pull it down. And you are going to spray it with this heavy starch. Now the starch is going to make it kind of freeze and harden in that position that you've got it in. So you start off around the nose. And my husband came up with the idea of just using a paintbrush to kind of push down into the nose sockets because every time you would push the eyes, it would pop up off the nose. Or when you would push the nose, it would pop up off the mouth. So you want it to stick on there so you can get that perfect face, you know. And so I used a brush and kind of brushed, if you will, down into all those crevices, and then you spray a lot, and I mean a lot of that heavy starch. And just when you think you have enough starch, spray some more because it's not going to hurt a thing. I think the more you got, probably the better off you are. That starch created a wetness that made it easier to get down into all those sockets. And then you just lay another piece of cheesecloth and repeat the exact same thing. You start at the nose, make sure that you use plenty of starch and get down in all those sockets. You pretty much keep doing this until your cheesecloth is gone. You just keep repeating that pattern. You lay that cheesecloth over it. Don't worry too much about any more of the details besides the fact that you want that face to be perfect. So use a lot of starch, like I said, and make sure you get down inside all those little crevices and spray all around that cheesecloth, not just on the face, but all the way around it. When you are finished with all your cheesecloth, you want your baby doll to kind of look like this. Or you can use a foam head. It doesn't have to be a baby. It can be like one of those foam heads or something. And you see how much I used. And then you take the bottom parts and you just kind of scrunch it, if you will. But be careful, because if you are not careful, you will pull that cheesecloth right back off her face and you won't see the pattern. So what I did was kind of held the area around her eyes when I scrunched all around that cheesecloth. This is a little bit a better picture, I think, of how I did. You want it to look scrunched like she's coming out of that picture or trying to come out of that picture. You want it to look scrunched. You use a lot of the spray, and then you're going to leave it alone and let it dry, at least overnight. I let this one dry overnight, and it still wasn't absolutely dry the next day. It said you can leave it up to 36 hours if you want. I set mine in the garage overnight because there's no humidity, there's no cool air from the night, and the chickens thought that it was a great idea. I just totally left her alone, and like I said, she was about 90% of the way dry the next day, but it would have been best if I had more time to let her sit and stew in her starch. I thought this old frame was perfect the way it was, but I did want to darken it up, so I used my DIY black wax, and I just kind of used my little wax brush, and I brushed it all around this whole frame and very, very lightly wiped off the excess because I wanted it to look old and dark and creepy. I really paid close attention to the corners because that's the area where a picture frame's usually the darkest, and so I really revved up the black wax in all of the corners. Now it's time to take the head off, and all we're going to have is just the shadow of the little face. So I had to very carefully undo the tape because remember I taped mine down, and I very, very carefully pulled her out. Now, the cloth did move a little bit, but it wasn't enough to really make that much of a difference. Then you lay your frame down to see where you need to cut, because you're still going to have to cut it so that you can close your picture frame in the back. So I just flipped mine over and I cut off a lot of this cheesecloth. But you just use that back piece of cardboard as your guide to know exactly how much you want to cut. You just want to be able to close it up real good. Once I finally got it cut to the size that I needed, I put it back into my frame, and then my frame had this gorgeous velvet backing on it. I love picture frames that have the velvet on them, and it had small little nails that attached it. I'm sorry my head is a little bit in the way. You know, my head had to make its appearance. So yeah, I just stuck everything back in there and then just closed it back up real good. I wanted to shade in that cheesecloth a bit, just to make it look a little bit more old and worn. So I used my Distress Oxide, and this color is called Weathered Twigs. And I love to use these little makeup brushes. Now you can get these at Dollar Tree. I think I got these off of Amazon, and I have all different sizes, and they're great for shading and distressing. And I just kind of went around the whole picture. I paid special attention to all of the edges, of course, and then where her mouth and stuff was. And then I took one of these spiders that I got from Walmart. I painted it black, and I just glued it right down on the side, and she is complete. I'm not really one for spooky Halloween decor, and I usually don't even celebrate Halloween, but I know that a lot of my subscribers do, and I wanted to give you guys some awesome ideas that were different than ones that you've seen before. I think that this one is amazing, and I'm really impressed with how it turned out and really how easy it was. I only have about $5 or $6 in this DIY. Let me know what you think. Now this next one can be all Dollar Tree. So I got 2 of these little hangers that you hang your plants on. And then I have 2 of these lanterns that are out at the Dollar Tree right now. They didn't have black, so I got orange. And I just used an old scrap piece of wood. But if you want to go all Dollar Tree, use one of their pieces of wood that's something like this. So I took my wood and just cleaned it up a little bit. I always wipe it down with a baby wipe because it helps it to receive the paint a little easier, I think. And I just used this black colored chalk paint and I gave it 2 all over coats. I even add a little squirt of water before I start painting because this paint is so thick. It's like in globs. And it just helps it to thin it down a little bit and coat the wood a little bit easier. The next thing I did was measured my wood so that I could put my lanterns and my little plant hanger right in the center. Now I mostly used a drill to just drill my little screws in, but in one part I actually did use my little screwdriver from the Dollar Tree, so you don't have to have a drill to make this DIY at all. It was very easy to get the screws right through the wood with that little screwdriver. But I used my drill mostly just because I had it there. Since my lanterns were orange, I took them outside and spray painted them black. I made sure that my lantern was going to slide on there very easy. And these take 2 AA batteries and they're really pretty when you light them up. And I use a Sharpie to color in any spots where the black paint comes off of there. That's a little trick. I got this vinyl. Look at this side. I love that it's got a side that makes it easy to peel off. It's from HTV Ront. They sent this to me a couple of weeks ago, and I love this orange color. And I just found this off of the Cricut Design Space. It says, park your broom and stay a while. Now we're going to put this on the very top of our little lantern post. I really like the orange color of this vinyl with that black background. I think it's very striking and it will definitely catch your eyes. And then I just turn my little lanterns on and this DIY is so super easy and it's done. Since my scrap wood was free, I have $2.50 in each lantern. But even if you had to use the Dollar Tree wood, that's only $3.75 a piece. Now that's a deal. If you're liking my content so far and you're getting some value from it, would you please do me a huge favor? Would you hit that like button because it really helps me out here on YouTube? And hey, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love for you to be one of my crafting buddies and for you to be a part of my DIY family here on YouTube. Now let's get back into the video. The next one, I just started off with one of these pumpkins that I got from Walmart. They were either $5.44 or maybe they were $6.44. I'm not 100% sure. But I used one that was a little more rounded. You can even use those small ones from the Dollar Tree. I plan to try it on those too. Now, I used just a regular X-Acto knife at first because I forgot that I had a hot knife, which is the same thing as an X-Acto knife, except for it gets hot and it cuts through this foam very easy. I just cut the very front part of my pumpkin off. And guess what? It's not hollow. I was broken inside. I thought in my mind that this was going to be a hollow pumpkin, but no problem. I just scooped all that old messy foam out. It took about 10 minutes. I just took some of that black chalk paint that I use. It's so thick, y'all, so I added some water to it, and I basically just kind of painted all over the inside, and I almost did like a dabbing motion just to get it all over the walls of this pumpkin. Next, I went in with my DIY paint in the color Summer Crush. This is the perfect pumpkin color, and I gave it 2 all over coats. And when it was about halfway dry, I took my Dixie Belle Voodoo Gel Stain. It's pretty much the same thing as that antique wax. I mean, honestly, it is. And I just kind of ran it down into the grooves, and I used my paintbrush to run it down in there. This is just to give it a good dark shading effect. And I went all around like the stem of the pumpkin too. And then I went back over it with the orange color to blend it in. Then I used a color called Java, which is a dark brown, and I just dabbed that all over the stem just to darken it up and make it look more like a stem. Then I took some spray adhesive and some big, thick, chunky glitter that I got from Walmart, and I've carefully sprayed that spray adhesive because I didn't want to go too fast and let it eat that foam up, and then I just dumped the glitter in there, and it's perfect. And look at the result. It's so beautiful, y'all. And I don't even like glitter. It's so pretty. So now we're going to work with these little skeletons. I got these at Dollar General, 3 for $1. Now you can easily maneuver their arms, bend them, and basically break them to do whatever you want to do with them. So I was just kind of warming him up because we're going to kind of bend his leg where he looks like he's just chilling and having a good old time. Here's where I finally remembered that I had the hot knife, and this is all it is. It's literally a hot X-Acto knife. And these little guys had hangers on the top of their head, and it just takes them right off. I absolutely love this tool. It makes things so much easier. Anytime you need to get plastic off or whatever. And I wish that I would have used this hot knife whenever I first cut the front end of my pumpkin off. It would have been so much easier. But hey, that's in the past and we're moving on. And so I just cut all the tops off my skeletons. I had a pack of those little wood pumpkins that come from the Dollar Tree, the little bitty tiny ones. And I took 3 of them and I painted them orange with that DIY Summer Crush. And I had some glitter from the Dollar Tree, and it has different fall colors. I opened up the orange, sprayed a little bit of that spray adhesive, and I put just a little bit of glitter all over the pumpkins. Not too crazy. Now it's time to put this mamma jamma together. I took a very small Sharpie-like pen, and I colored his eyes in black. And what I plan to do is use this little coffin. My daughter's vampire teeth came in it. It's just a little coffin toy. And my plan is to lay him inside there and like he's popping out of it. That's the scene. And then once I get everything in place the way I want to do it, I just had to use a little bit of glue here and there. And of course my big head has to jump right up in the way. Thank you, Lord, it finally moved. And I've got him just kind of like he's trying to pop up out of that coffin, like, let me out of this thing, you know, like he's just trying his best to just escape this thing. I tried to just be really careful with the glue and only use it where I needed. Now you can use any kind of little box to put him in. I was going to use a little jewelry box before I found this little coffin toy box, but I found it and then I just glued it in sideways. Then I added a couple of those little pumpkins, and really I usually put things in 3s, but for some reason 2 looked better, so I used 2, but I have an idea for what I'm going to do for the 3rd one. Then I took my hot knife and I spun this pumpkin around and I cut a small hole because we're going to put some lights in it. And I want the lights to be able to go through the back where I can put the little remote back here and it's not in the way. And that hot knife went right through this pumpkin so easy, y'all. It was just crazy easy. And I threaded those lights through there because they are so small that it didn't take much to get them through. I just kind of wound those lights around the back of the coffin and kind of around it. And I glued it on the sides. That's the one thing I like about these small string lights. They're in my Amazon store, by the way. They're little bitty string lights. They're called fairy lights, and you can actually glue them. I took a couple of these black foam flowers that come from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put 2 of them down in front of the skeleton that's down there in the coffin, and then a couple up on the top. I really thought that these kind of just gave it a little extra touch. Now we're going to set the second skeleton up on the top. I just put some glue and place him up there, and he's waving, and he's sitting back on the stem of the pumpkin, and I'm going to stick his leg up like, hey, dude, you know, like he's just kind of chilling, like, you know, he just hanging. But anyways, I glued it. That's the vision that was in my head anyways. And so I glued it to where he's up there just kind of chilling and waving at you like, hey, what's going on? And then I found some bats, y'all. I didn't know I had these. They're little rings that came in the Dollar Tree pack, and they were bats. So all I had to do was use my hot knife and cut the little ring part off. And so now I have perfect little bats to use. And so I took them, and I'm going to place this one upside down because, you know, that's how bats hang anyways. And I'm going to place him at the very front of this pumpkin like it's a little cave. And then I'm just going to place a couple of bats in different locations. I want to put one on that red coffin because I knew that it would stand out. And then I wanted to actually put one on this guy's knee, like it's his little pet. Like, you know how a kitty cat's always at your feet? Well, he's got a little bat at his feet. That was kind of my vision. Don't laugh. It's just, you know, it's how I think. I don't know. Then I take a bat and put it in front of those 2 pumpkins at the bottom. I kind of straightened everything up and made sure I had everything the way that I wanted it. And I took that 3rd pumpkin and I'm going to stick it up there by those 2 black foam flowers on the top. And I wanted to finish it off with some of that spray adhesive on the black flowers and some of that black chunky glitter so that they would shine. And I love this one, y'all. I glued it to a candlestick just to give it a little extra va-va-voom. Even if I paid $6.44 for this pumpkin, I still have $8 or $9 at most in this DIY. Now this last one is so fast and easy, it's not even really a DIY. It's more of a hack, I guess you could say. I got this cute little owl at the thrift store for $1 or $2. I cleaned him off real good, but you know, owls are usually dark, and I had some of that Java colored paint still left on my paintbrush. And I just wanted to like go over him in like a distressing motion and color him in and see what he would look like if we did this to him. And I was absolutely loving the way that it went over his feathers and how pretty it was. Owls give me a vintage vibe, but I think it's because my mom had a lot of home interior owl stuff in the 80s. Now he had some black spots that was all in his eyes, and what I like to do with stuff like that is just take a Sharpie and color it in. I mean, you really never notice the difference. In some cases, it actually looks better. So I just colored that in real pretty. And that was pretty much all I did to this guy, and he's done. And that's all I did to this guy, and spray some enamel on him, and he is done. All right. These projects were made with dollar store pieces and just old pieces of junk wood I had sitting around. Let's jump in. The first project is a set of 3 cats that we made from some old junk wood. It's actually an old 4x4 that was our mailbox post. My husband put the saw on a 45-degree angle to cut it. That way he could push it right through and it would make the top and cut the ears out for the cats. We got a daddy, a mama, and a little bitty baby cat. When he got the wood cut, I brought him inside, and this is what I've got. I've got the larger, the medium, and the small. And as you see, this wood is really rough. I mean, it was the post to our mailbox, no joke. And you see how we just cut that there? Even the ears are kind of rough, but I like that because it made me think of the old retro cats from the 70s when I was growing up. You know, Halloween, there was just this old tattered looking black cat that, you know, makes me think of my childhood back in those days. So I took some Waverly black color, which is called ink, and I'm just going to slap about 2 coats on all of my kitty cats. And when I'm done, they look so stunning. Now I'm going to make the most important part of these cats, their eyes. Now I wanted them to be wood so that they would pop off the rest of it and really come out at you. Now I decided to do it with paint sticks. I did not soak these paint sticks before I started cutting, but at the very end I remembered that if you take your paint sticks and you soak them, literally soak them in water for about 15 minutes, it loosens them up and makes them so much easier to cut. Plus I had to cut them with scissors, but if you have those cutters that a lot of people use from Amazon that they cut their paint sticks in half with, that makes it easier too. Just get you some really strong scissors and you just cut them in the shape of footballs. You're going to need 6 and you want them to be as big as they can be. They don't have to be perfect because you can sand them down when you're finished cutting. Again, through a lot of trial and error, I found that the very best way to sand these was with my little paint zipper, I think is what this thing's called. It's on Amazon. It's in my Amazon store. And I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, is a finger zipper or a finger sander. It really did the job fast. And all I was looking for is a good football shape for my kitty cats. Plaid sent me some paints about a year ago, and man, I'd never have used it till now. It's a metallic paint. It's called Color Shift. That's the type of paint. It's made by Folk Art, and the color is called Bright Yellow. I wanted those eyes to pop out at you, and man, this color, I couldn't have picked a better color. It's like it changes whenever you move it around. It's like it catches the light. It doesn't have glitter in it, but it's very metallic-y looking. It's really cool. But anyways, I painted all 6 of my eyes, the front and the back, the whole 9 yards. Now we're going to put their faces together. I just glued both of the eyes in a catty corner kind of fashion. And then I've got 2 little slits of wood that were also cut. They were just left over from when we cut our little eye shapes out. I painted those black, and I'm going to stick those right in the center. Doesn't that look like cat eyes? It's so cute. Now, you guys let me know if you like this angle that I'm doing here. I really like this now that I keep my head out of the way. And let's just hope that it stays out of the way through this whole video. Now, I have this wire. I got it at Dollar Tree. It's in the automotive section, and it comes in black and red together. Different little colors, but okay. It comes in the same pack. That's what I'm trying to say. And what I did was I took the black, I took 2 wires, and I would kind of intertwine them in the middle. And that's where I'm going to put a big old dollop of glue. And I'm going to stick my little whiskers right there. And since they're wire, we can form them any way we want. You can make them as long as short as you want. I wanted Daddy to have a bow tie, so I got this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And I just did a figure 8 bow, the cause bow they call it. And it's just a simple little finger bow there. I tied it in the middle, and we're going to glue this down where it would be in the position kind of like at his neckline, Out of the 2 bows I made, I could not decide which one I liked better, but I settled in with the orange and white checkered. I thought that looked very debonair for Daddy Cat. Now we're going to work on Mama Cat. And we're going to do the exact same thing with her. We put the eyes at a catty corner shape. And then we're also going to put those little sticks in there for the center of the eyes. And I wanted her to have two bows because she's a bougie cat. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to do these two different colors of orange bows. And I just placed one on top of the other so that it'd be kind of fluffy and cute. And I stuck it sideways at the bottom part of her ear. And then I also added the whiskers on just like I did Daddy Cat. Then I did the exact same thing for the baby cat, and I decided to make the baby cat a little girl, so we're going to put a bow in her hair, but for her, I just did a single little bow. Now we're going to finish our kitty cat off with my signature buttons. You know I got to throw a button in there somewhere, so I'm going to make their noses as cute as a button. Each one gets a little button for the nose. And I think these cats are so adorable. I plan to sell these in the store for $25 for the pair of 3. Actually, it's not a pair when it's 3. But for the 3 of them, $25. Let me know what you think.
Right now I'm standing in the corner. I see you from across the room. It's kinda crowded here, but I know you see me too. Everybody's singing, oh, everybody's singing, oh. I don't know what it is about you.
For DIY number 2, I got this glass jar at the Dollar Tree. You can use any jar that just has like a flat front on it. Any side that's flat. I'm going to use Dixie Belle Slick Stick. It's a primer for glass and it just helps the paint to stick better. The color I'm using is Burlap by Dixie Belle, and I'm going to be using some buttons, of course. Now listen, you can use any color of paint that is a color that a scarecrow's like skin would be. So kind of like a brownish color like this Burlap. Now all I do is put one quick coat of this slick stick on my jar and let it dry. Now this DIY couldn't be any easier or any cuter. I've got 2 large black buttons and I'm going to place them on the front of my jar with some hot glue and just put it on a surface where your jar is not going to roll around. And then I'm going to use an orange permanent marker from Arteza, and I'm going to kind of round the ends. It's a triangle shape, but the ends are kind of rounded in like a scarecrow's nose. And I put that right in between the eyes. Now I'm going to take a black permanent pen. You can use a Sharpie. And I'm just making little eyelashes coming out from the buttons. And then you know how scarecrows have stitches. So I think the stitches look best if you put like a long one and then a little short one right beside it. I've looked at different ones and I think those are prettier. I just made a little very easy mouth with the stitches on it too. I'm going to take some burlap, and this is burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And then what I'm going to do is I need about only an inch. So I had to fold this one in half and cut it. And all we're going to do is wrap and glue this around the top of your lid. And at this point, make sure that your lid is just screwed down on there. You can even put a light in this if you want. It will kind of glow at night. With this burlap color, it will kind of dampen that light, but you can still see it, and it'll be really pretty. So I just put my burlap around the top of the head, and you can take any kind of ribbon, and we're going to make a very simple bow. All I did was literally make a circle here, and I glue it together. And then what I do is I push in the middle and then squish it together, and it makes a simple bow. I took the last little piece of that burlap that I had cut off of there. It's about 1 inch by inch. And I'm going to put that burlap right in the center. But first I tied my little bow together to secure it. And then I take that piece of burlap and I just glue it right over the center part of that bow. Then I take my little bow and I simply hot glue it right underneath that piece of burlap that we just put on there. Then I take some raffia, take as much as you want, and I measured mine, and it was 15 inches of raffia, and I just folded it over itself and tied it really, really tight. Now, this is so cute. She's going to have like a little 50s do like I wear all the time with a headband, and guys, she's got a little raffia bun. How cute is this scarecrow, y'all? Now I take my scissors and I cut right off where I tied that off, because all we really need is that little hump part. That's going to be her little bun. And you just kind of fluff it out. I put a lot of glue on the top of my little mason jar. And then you just glue that little bun up there and you style it as you want. It looks like a little fluffy Dolly Parton hairdo. It's just the cutest thing I've ever seen. I couldn't decide if I liked her with eyebrows or not, so I'm going to show you pictures of both. Hey, if you're liking my videos so far and you find value in my content, would you hit the like button for me? It really helps me out here on YouTube, and it pushes me out there just a little bit more so that people that have never seen me can come across my channel. And hey, stick around and hit that subscribe button. You know we want you to be part of our family. Now back to the video. This one is going to be another wood DIY. I went to my printer and I printed out a bunch of cute Halloween images. They're all like retro because I'm so into vintage. And I found most of these at Graphics Fairy. But when I think of my childhood and Halloween, Charlie Brown was always the pinnacle. My family laughs at me because I know every word to the whole movie. I would get so excited when it would come on every year. So I got these blocks now at the thrift store. I have had these things for years and I got a whole box of them. I didn't know what to do with them. So we're just going to make shelf sitters out of them. They're all different sizes. So here is where I cut out all of my different prints. And if your prints have words on them, you need to mirror your image because you're going to lay it down flat, and you definitely want your image to have the words come out correctly. So I cut each one of these out and we're going to put these on the shelf sitters. Paint your wood whatever color you want. I did orange and white, and I have to say the white ones turned out better. And you just take your Mod Podge. I used matte, but you can use any kind. And you just put it on the surface and you lay your image down on top, and you're going to put it face down. And you kind of push it and flatten it out. Make sure there's no bubbles or wrinkles because that does show up. I used a little brayer that I have, and I also used my little Cricut tool. You can use a credit card or anything just to make sure that there's no bubbles on there. It was very simple. I went through all these and put Mod Podge and the image of each one on each block. And then you just leave them alone and let them absolutely dry. I let mine dry completely for about 4 hours. Now the next step is to either take a damp rag, I just used a baby wipe, and you kind of blot the image and just make sure that it's totally dry before you do this now. But you wet it, and when you get to the point to where you can actually see the image through the wetness, you use your finger very, very carefully, and you just kind of rub, and you're actually rubbing that paper away. But be careful, don't rub too hard over the actual image because you'll rub it away too, and you don't want that. So I tried not to leave too much like overhang, if you will. I just tried to put the image on there and not have a lot of extra space, because you just got to end up taking that off anyway. So I hope you can understand what that means, but you just go over it very carefully, and you keep adding water if you need, or that damp cloth or baby wipe, until you get all of the paper off of each one. This is a very easy project, and you kind of learn as you go, and you get the feel for how much to take off, how much wetness you need. The whole thing is just kind of a learning curve as you go. So I had about 6, I think, of these. I had 2 big ones and 4 small ones, and I just took my time and went over them. You just have to have patience now. If you have any overhang off of the side of your wood, you can just take a sanding sponge and go over it, and it comes right off. I had a couple of different ones with the Snoopy images that I purchased off of Etsy. And if I could, I would share those with you guys, but I would get in big trouble, because the rules state that if you buy it off of Etsy, you can't just turn around and give it to other people. But I will gladly put in the description box where I got these Snoopy SVGs very cheap. So when I finally got the paper off of all of these, that's when the fun begins. I had a small twig that I had cut to make stems for my pumpkins, and I have one of those little table saws that I got off of Amazon. It's so handy. It's really just a Dremel wheel, like the wheel of a Dremel, and it cuts these little stems perfectly. It's just like zip, and it's there. And so I put the little stem on each of my pumpkins, and then I went over the front of these and sealed them back up with Mod Podge when I was finished. Now we're going to embellish them. I found on discount at Walmart some tulle. I believe that's how you say this word. I absolutely hate that word, because I don't know if it's like tulle, toile. I have no idea. But I cut these in 1-inch strips, because we're going to use them to make a beautiful fluffy little ribbon. I also have a bunch of different Halloween looking ribbon here, and it's the smaller 1-inch, and I just cut a piece of it and some of the tulle, and I'm going to literally wrap it around the stem, and all I'm doing is just tying it and just letting it fluff out. Then I just take various types of ribbon, and on most of them I used 2 ribbons. On some I just used 1. It just depended on what I thought would look best with it. I absolutely love this ribbon that I got from burlapfabric.com, and it's just black and white striped, and I think it looks so good for Halloween. And of course I have to put a signature button on the front of most of these, and then on some of them I put pine cones. But I put the toile tulle on every single one of them, and the ribbons, and just embellished it with different things. I even used pieces of the colored potpourri from the Dollar Tree. Now next, I'm going to take my little stamp set, and I got this off of Amazon. It's in my description box if you want one, and it just makes whatever words you want. And there was a few of these that had no words on them, and it was just a very simple picture, and I felt like it needed something, and all I could come up with was to put boo on it, but it turned out so cute. Then I took every single one of my little shelf sitters, and I ran this black ink, it's permanent, and I run it down all 3 sides just to give it an extra little touch. And on a few of them, I put little leaves on the back of the stem just for a little extra touch. Now let me know what you think about this one. I would love for you guys to let me know what your favorite memory from your childhood Halloween is. Like I said, mine was always watching Snoopy, and I can remember back in the days when it was safe to go from house to house because we knew everyone in our town. And my mom would actually take us and dump us out, and she would follow us in the car, and we would walk for miles and miles and come back with these huge bags of candy. And like we would have candy all the way up until like Christmas, until she finally got sick of it and threw it out. But guys, I have so many memories of dressing up as Care Bears. And, you know, back in the 80s, I was big on the show Alf. I don't know if any of you guys remember him, but I dressed up as him one year. And, of course, I was Snoopy, and I was Strawberry Shortcake one year. And what's funny is how trends come back. And then all those years later, my daughter, who's 14 now, when she was 3, she dressed up as Strawberry Shortcake. But guys, those are memories that just are so sweet, and they don't last long, guys. So let me know in the comments your favorite tradition or your favorite thing to do at Halloween when you were a kid. Now let's keep going. For DIY number 4, I have various jars that I got from the Dollar Tree. I got those last year, and then these with the little horseshoe looking ones on them, and then the one large one. What I'm planning to do is take this apple and these little pumpkins, and I've also got some smaller pumpkins that come in a pack at Dollar Tree. It's these little plastic ones, and they come in this pack called Harvest Decor, and they are really cute on top of these. Now, what I plan to do is take those plastic pumpkins and these little styrofoam pumpkins, and these are the ones that have the little wire in the back of them, and they look so cute when you glue them on the top of the little jars. Then I took only the lids outside, and I had all these different colors of spray paint, but I didn't know which ones to use. And for most of them, I use this orange color. It's called Rustic Orange, and it's Rust-Oleum 2 times. And I also use this color called Copper Rose, and it's from Rust-Oleum Metallic line. And I even sprayed it lightly over the orange so it would have a little shine to it. While those were drying, I took the jars, and then I had these little owl, like little wood pieces that comes from the Dollar Tree. They're not really wood because I could bend them a little bit, but I just hot glued them, one on each of the smaller jars that matched, because I thought that was cute. Owls have always had like a retro feel to me because my mom had them everywhere in her home decor in the 80s. And of course, I used buttons for their eyes. Now, these were so easy and quick to make, and it's all Dollar Tree items. I just can't believe how cute these are. And look, you can put them on little candle stands, and they're just cute as a little candy jar or whatever you want to put in these. They would be adorable at a little Halloween party. Or maybe a school party, and you can take it and give it to your teacher, especially the one with the apple. These are so sweet. Soon. I'm walking down the street on clouds instead of the concrete I'm dancing through. Everything's about to come my way. Nothing can ruin my day. No matter what anyone does or say, I smile at fools. No, I don't care, cause I am on my way up, and I won't stop, I won't slow down. Steady on my feet, I'm gonna rise up. No, I won't stop, it is my time. I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like when nothing goes your way. So I'm gonna let myself enjoy the fruit from this lucky day. Yeah, I am on my way up. We're gonna make this cute little boo wreath. I have this round from Dollar Tree, and it has a pumpkin on the other side, but I wanted the back side. I sanded it down really good, and I gave it just one coat of my home decor black chalk paint.
Guys, y'all would never believe what happened. After I made the intro and I told y'all that the cloud ate one of my videos, well, last night as I was finishing up my video and I was running behind, it ate all of my videos. And this is the second time I've had to go in, re-edit this video. And it usually takes 8 hours to edit one time. So I'm so sorry. There is a couple pieces missing, but we're going to get through this. I put down 2 pieces of masking tape, and then I was trying to cut one piece because I wanted a slimmer line, and I was like, what am I doing? All I needed was the line, so I came to myself and put it down the right way because, okay, you'll see what I'm doing here. See, look, I was trying to cut that line in half. Like, why do that instead of just make it a little bit closer? You see what I'm saying? I'm such a nut. And I used my folk art vivid orange, and I had to give this thing 4 coats to get over that black color. I dried it between each coat. Okay, there's only a couple of small clips missing from the videos, but like I said, we're going to get through this. But this is the second time I've had to edit this. My heart's broken, guys. I've been working on this video for a week and a half, 2 weeks, trying to get this Halloween video to y'all. And here it is, like the 7th, you know, and I don't have my video out. But, oh my goodness, y'all. Just pray for me. I really need it. And look how beautiful and crisp and vivid. That's why they call it vivid orange. Look how beautiful that is. I have these 3 little ghosts that I had already painted white. They're from Dollar Tree. And I just put them where I wanted them. Here I'm playing with different bows. I finally figured that the bow that I liked was my little finger bow. You know, where I hold my 2 fingers. And I go around my fingers about 5 times, and I pinch it in the middle, and then I tie it off, and it just makes a little, some people call them little shoestring bows. You see, the last ghost has it. That middle ghost looks like he has a punk rock hairdo going on there, because I was going to do the little bow that I make, the finger bow, where I cut the little loops open, and then look at the way he looks like a hard punk rocker from the 80s, doesn't he? So I didn't like that, so I just went ahead and changed all the bows up. Hey, at least I can still laugh about this. I'm not kidding, y'all. I have cried. It upset me so bad. There was a couple little spots where the orange did kind of leak under that tape. So I just took my black Arteza chalk marker and colored it in, and you can't even tell. It looks just like the paint. Okay, and here I am fixing up the little bows. I'm putting, just gluing them down. See, there's my finger bow where I wrap it around my fingers 5 times, pinch it in the middle. And now all 3 ghosts are going to have the correct little bows on their head. I went to my Cricut and I printed off Hey Boo. I do not like going with what everybody else goes with. I like being different, but hey, honestly, I could not think of anything else to put, like a cute little sayings. I know everybody's using Hey Boo and Hey Pumpkin, but I was like, you know what? I don't know any other one. So we went with Hey Boo. All these pieces go to my 3-year-old grandson, and he's absolutely going to love it. So the saying doesn't matter because he can't read yet anyway, even though he is a genius. But anyways, we got Hey Boo. I've been really working on my bows, and I did a really good one on this one. I wrapped it over 6 times, and then I made 2 small slits on the sides. Then I'm going to take my tie wrap and run it over the bow, but not pull it all the way down, because I made a little round, looks like a finger, and it's going to slide right over that tie wrap. I call them tie wraps, but there's an actual word for them, and I don't remember what they are, but you can look and see what it is. And I pulled the tie wrap all the way tight. I fluffed my bow, and I was proud of myself because it usually takes me 2 hours of fluffing. It took me a few minutes. I put my bow down, and I took one of the little wooden jack-o'-lanterns that comes from the Dollar Tree, painted it with the vivid orange, and put it in the center. Then I took my black Arteza chalk marker and I outlined my ghost. It really made their eyes pop, and I like to outline everything because it makes everything pop and kind of stand out. Arteza sent me this load of paints and markers, guys, and I'm so proud of that. Their chalk markers are the best I've ever used. And I did stitching where it looks like stitching on the word Hey Boo. And here I'm taking my black Arteza chalk marker and I'm tapping it against my finger to like make splatters. And I'm doing that with the orange one too. I should have used a paintbrush. It may have, not splattered as much. But that's okay because it turned out beautiful. I was just too lazy to do it with the paintbrush. I took my white chalk marker and I made stitches all the way around my sign and around that orange part down there. I'm really into stitches lately. I really like the way that looks, and I'm like, why haven't I been doing this all along? I mean, I do it occasionally, but I'm really into the stitching lately, especially now that it's October and then Christmas coming up. I love stitches on everything. So, guys, that was it. After I splattered it, that was it. I hope you guys like this one. All right, for DIY number 2, we're going to make this trick or treat sign, and it's going to look like candy corn. I love this. I got this from Dollar Tree. I wanted to paint each letter a different color, and my pattern was white, yellow, orange. So my first one is white, my second one is yellow, and I used all acrylic paints on these. And my third one was the vivid orange. That vivid orange is really a pretty color for Halloween. And I used a color called Daydream Yellow. And the white was just white. Now here I am at the end when I painted everything. I did do the word or black because I wanted it to be something to be different. And on everything that's white, I dipped the end of my paintbrush in the orange, and I'm going to make polka dots on everything that's white. I did something different to each letter. I took my white chalk marker, and on everything that is, or the word or, I made polka dots on it also. And then since I already had my white chalk marker in hand, everything that's yellow, I made straight lines going up and down. Then I thought, since these Arteza chalk markers were so good, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to use them. So I finished off my orange polka dots. Instead of using the paint, I used the chalk markers because it saved me a lot of time. And then I finished off my white lines. And then I splattered again. I splattered with the orange and I splattered with the white. And then I took the black Arteza marker and I splattered with it. And I also, on everything that was orange, or the I and the E, I made squiggly lines going across. So when all the letters had their colors, this is what it looked like when we were finished with that. The polka dots, the lines, the squigglies, and the splatters. Then I took that JB Ranger's Distress Oxide, and it's called Weathered Twigs is the color I use. It's a light brown. and I took my little chippy brush. I went all the way around the perimeter of this sign, just on the outsides here, but all the way around the perimeter. And this was recorded in slow motion for some reason, so I'm going to try to speed it up. The last part here is where I lost my footage. I had bought a canvas frame from the Goodwill, and I took it apart. We did a reverse canvas method where I pull the staples out. I painted it black, and then we're going to put it back together with Trick or Treat on the top. And I just put my sign on this black canvas frame and added a couple of those little Dollar Tree bats and some white Dollar Tree ghosts. I'm so sorry for losing this footage. I don't know what happened. Like I said, the cloud ate it. It said my phone storage was full, and I mean, it just took and erased almost just many pieces of this video. And guys, I've worked so hard on this video. I cried and cried like a big baby. I've never had so much trouble with a video since I have started YouTube. And I'm so sorry, but you get the gist of what I've done here. And I hope you can see, just in case you want to make these last minute things. But hey, it's like the 11th hour, so I'm not sure anybody will. This next one is my favorite. It's a creepy old hand holding a globe that's got a person trapped inside of it. Don't ask me how I come up with these things. I've got this crazy hand from the Dollar Tree that looks decrepit and terrible, and I decided what to do to make it look like it's clutching that globe is to cut the fingers off at the joints. So I cut the fingers off at the joints, and I glued them back, but I glued them at an angle going upward, and it had so much glue on it, and I was afraid that it was going to show and it was going to look terrible, and I wasn't even going to use it until I finished with the DIY. This is one of those things that I tell you guys, trust the process. Trust the process. Because when it was done, you couldn't tell that I had so much glue on it to hold the fingers together. But if you'll look, I pretty much, that finger is almost standing straight up. Or not standing, but almost clutching straight upward, just like a clutching finger would be. And I had to glue it on that way, and then glue the tip on. And then that very last finger, I created a thumb out of it, and I'll show you how I did that. But all of these, basically what I did was cut the two first joints off and then curl them upwards. See, and I'm putting a lot of hot glue. This one was really fun to make, but the whole time that I was making it, I thought this is not going to look good at all until I got it finished, and it looks great. I mean, it's my favorite. So like I said, you just have to trust the process. See, I cut the first two joints of the fingers off and then just glued them in a way where they would be kind of clutching upward. And I wanted one finger to kind of still be pointing, which that's that pointer finger there. You see there, it looks like a clutching hand now, when it just looked like an old rickety butt hand whenever I first bought it. It was just, you know, it just didn't look good. It was awful looking. Now here's how I did the thumb. I pretty much had to cut it completely off. I tried not to. I tried to cut it and then glue it here where it would just stand up. Or, you know, not stand up, but kind of clutch, you know. And it would not do it. It just kept falling down. And I did have patience, and I held it the whole time until the glue dried, but it just was not going to do. So I took the finger completely off here, and I just glued it upward the way it should be. I took it outside. I did not have any cream-colored spray paint, so I just used white spray paint, and I painted it. And now I've got this color by Home Decor, and it's called Bavarian. It's kind of a creamy yellow color, and I just gave the hand one coat, and it's not even a full coat. It's just kind of a little, you see how I'm doing that? Just kind of a little wishy-washy. It's not a perfect coat. I painted the front and back side of this hand. I had to repair a finger in the middle because it wasn't glued on good enough, and I was afraid it was going to come off, so I just re-glued it. I took my the Waverly Antique Wax, and I ran it all over that hand. I added a little bit of water so it would run down in all of the little creases of the hand and all of the little joints. It really looks like an old dead hand. And I painted the whole thing with the Waverly Wax. And then, when it was almost dry, I took a baby wipe and wiped most of it off. I still wanted a lot of that antique wax on there so it would look like an old rickety hand. And guys, when this thing was finished, I was surprised. I mean, the way it started off and then the way that the fingers looked with all the glue, I thought, no, this is not going to look good. But I'm telling you, the paint camouflaged where I had to use so much glue, and I'm glad that I stuck through with it because this one was my favorite one. I took a little pack of fairy lights that I have, and I'm going to put it in the middle of one of those spider webs that comes from the Dollar Tree. It's those webs that have like 5 spiders in them, and it's the ones that you hang up in the doorways and stuff. I just kind of pulled it apart to make it look like a real web, and I stuck those lights right in the center of it. I'm going to wad it up and put it in my crystal ball. But first I'm going to paint my crystal ball. I just took some of the Home Decor brand white wax, and I used a paintbrush and went all around the inside of this little fish bowl. And then I took a baby wipe and kind of wiped it around, and it looked like a fog, or like, smeared. I gave it a good dry. And then I just took and placed my lights and the spider web down inside of there. And I had pulled off of Pixabay that picture, and it is a picture of looks like a man that's trapped in fog or something. I just printed it out on a regular computer, and I cut it out. It's going to go in the front of this globe. I just slid it right down in the front. I had like a skeleton head that I laid in there and like a little skeleton leg from different pieces. And then I glued that fish bowl in the hand. And that was the end of this one. Let me know what you think. DIY number 4 is short and sweet. It's a vintage little Halloween sign on a pumpkin that has a clip where you can put a picture. I've got this little pumpkin that I got from the Dollar General. It's got a little clip on the back where you can put a picture. And I'm going to give it 2 good coats of chalk paint. I pulled the little girl in the pumpkin off of Pixabay, and I just printed it on my printer with that water slide paper. We're going to do the water slide again. So I gave it 2 good coats and dried it in between. Then I took my decal and dipped it in the water for a minute. I wet the surface of the little white pumpkin. And then I laid the little girl on there and slid the paper out from under it and just dried it off. And that's all there was to this DIY. It was super simple. And I love vintage Halloween pictures. I think they're so pretty. And you can put a picture or whatever in the back with your clip. DIY number 5 is easy too. It's a candy jar with a witch on the front. I took a ragu sauce jar, and I'm just going to paint the lid black with my Home Decor black chalk paint. And I got these awesome Halloween napkins from the Dollar General. It has a witch on it and tombstones. So all I wanted was the orange part, the witch. I pulled it apart because it's 2-ply. And you know I don't like mine to be like a perfect square, so I put a little bit of water on it and kind of pulled it apart with my fingers so it would not be perfectly square. And then I just put my Mod Podge on my jar, and I don't put a ton of Mod Podge. I just put enough to get her to stick. And then I lay the image down. I lay the middle part of the image first, which was the witch. I laid it down and I took my saran wrap. If I can tell you anything about decopaging, the most important thing is your saran wrap. You can get your wrinkles out with the saran wrap. It's just perfect. You can even use your fingers like I'm doing here to manipulate. If there are wrinkles, which there always is, you can get them out with your fingers. And I like this little Mod Podge roller, but you don't have to have that roller. You can even use like a cup from your kitchen, just anything that's rounded. And the most important part, like I said, is that saran wrap. So that's all I did, was get my image to stay on the front there. And I didn't want an image on the back. I thought what I was going to do is paint that instead. So once I got my image perfect with no wrinkles, I painted the back of the jar with my home decor black chalk paint. I gave it 2 coats and then I painted all around the rim. Then I took some twine and I placed it around the very top of my jar, and I wrapped it around 2 times and then glued it and cut it off. And I took one of those skeleton heads and one of my spider rings and glued that to the very top of my jar. And that's all I did on this one. It was easy. Wow, we're moving quick. Maybe because I've already edited this before. Hee hee. Just kidding. DIY number 6. This one is a beautiful boo wreath. And this is one of the pieces where I lost footage. What I did was make 20 bundles. And in this bundle is 4 colors. I've got orange, brown, green, and yellow. I cut each of those colors at 12 inches and then I just rolled it up. And there's 4 of those in each bundle. And all you do is roll it up and tie it with a chenille stem, and that makes your bundle. And I'm showing you here, I go to the 2 outer rings, and that's where I put my tie at, my little chenille stem. I just wrap it around like 2 times. There's 6 little areas there that you call a rung, and we're only going to use about half of those, about 3. Because I need space for my little boo sign. So what I did was put that one on the outer 2. This one's going to go on the inner 2. You see where I'm pointing? And each little area there is going to have 6 little bundles. So that's my second bundle, and it's going on the inside. I hope this makes sense. And here I'm pointing again. Now the next one, we're going to the upper 2 again. You just rotate. You go to the upper 2 and then the bottom 2. And you put 6 on each little area. So basically, if you wanted to do this whole wreath, you would need 36 bundles. But like I said, we didn't do the whole wreath and we used 20. So here I go again. I'm going to the outer ring again. And I wanted to show you this part because, like I said, I lost that first part. And I am so sorry, guys. I just feel like a dog. I don't know what else to say. I wanted to show you what I have been working on for you guys. But it just kills me that that the cloud is hungry or whatever's going on. My storage is full. I know that's my fault. But I don't know how to fix the issue once it happened. You know what I'm saying? And so when one bundle, or not bundle, but when one rung here is full and it has 6 pieces on it, It's gorgeous, and it's just fluffy. You just use your fingers to kind of fluff up your rolls. And that's all they are, is you literally take them and roll them up. You just roll it. Here I show you that there's 6 rungs, and this is what the rung looks like when it is totally full and it has 6 on it. That's a rung that I'm pointing to. I know I keep repeating myself. Now here I am when I have half of the wreath done, and we have 3 rungs left. I want to show you how full and beautiful this is. This was a total, it should have been 18 bundles, but I used 20 because I'm a little extra. And this is what it looks like. And there I'm showing you there's 3 left. So now we're going to decoupage this word boo. I got these from Discovery Outlet for 50 cents. It's these cute little Day of the Dead napkins. We're going to decoupage again. So when I pulled my plies apart where I just had the 1 ply, what I'm going to do is put my Mod Podge down and then just simply lay my napkin down, and of course I'm going to use my saran wrap. And I use my little Mod Podge roller and my fingers to ensure that there is no wrinkles. Now, every once in a while when you're working with something like this, you're going to get a wrinkle or two, but it was okay in this case. It wasn't a big deal, but actually this one came out with no wrinkles. But like I said, every once in a while, don't get down on yourself if you do get a wrinkle. I had to use 2 napkins to totally cover this area, and I used my saran wrap. I waited till this was 100% dry, and I took my little finger sander and went all the way around the edges to make sure that there was no napkin pieces left. And then in the middle where the holes are, the word boo, I took a nail file and just kind of popped it inside there and ran it around sideways to get any pieces of the napkin off. This is the best way to get the sides of your napkins off, is to make sure that you sand them off. It will come out perfect every single time. I could have used a smaller nail file. It would have helped me, but all I had was this big one. And hey, you use what you got. But I am going to get one of those small metal nail files, because for areas like this that are small, intricate areas, they work like a charm. Then I took my black chalk paint and went all the way around the perimeter of this so that the wood would not show and it would all be black. I took that white chalk writer from the Dollar Tree and I went and outlined this whole word with stitches. You know, I told you I'm into stitches lately. So I did the stitches, and plus it looks really cute for Halloween. I outlined all of my words, everything, because it just makes it pop and show up some more. I got this sign from the Dollar Tree. I guess it's like a banner. It's the skull head and the hats. So I pulled it apart, and it wasn't the right colors. So I thought the best way to do this was to take my Arteza chalk markers and color the skeleton, the colors that are in my wreath. I took one of those small skeletons that I got from the Dollar General, and I'm going to place him right in that last O in the word boo. I also took some brown mesh and ran it around those last 3 rings so the word boo would have something to stick to. I have a little wooden pumpkin, bat, and ghost that's from the Dollar Tree, and I painted them the correct colors with my Arteza chalk markers. Then I placed each one of those little wooden pieces in different spots on my word boo. And now I'm just going to use hot glue to glue the word boo on, because since I put that brown mesh and I just wrapped a whole roll around those 3 rungs, it's really going to stick well. I took one of those little skeletons from the Dollar General and set him in the last O in the word boo, and I'm just going to glue his bottom and his back down. And this is definitely going to my grandson because he's really into skeletons this year. He's only 3, and it's his first Halloween where he's really getting into it, and he's into skeletons. So I wanted it to be friendly. I raised its little hand like it's waving. And this is where I sand and paint my little head. And I think that the best way to get that head to go on the wreath and stay was to put it on a skewer. So I took a skewer and I just glued the head to the skewer. That way they can take it off if they don't want it on there. And that was the end of this little wreath. I'm so sorry that the first part was gone, where I couldn't show you how to measure out to make the little bundles. But I hope that if you want to make this wreath that you can understand how to. I'm telling you, this has just broke my heart. And for the last DIY, I had lost so much of the footage I couldn't show you except for the finished product. It's a little skeleton driving a truck with pumpkins and bones hanging out the back. I did put a bow on the top, and I placed him in a box that I found at the Goodwill, and I put a back on it. I hope you guys like this video, and I'm so sorry for the trouble that I had.